Welcome to this masterclass from The Banker in association with Epam Systems. Today we are looking at the findings from Epam's recent Consumer Banking Report, which surveyed over 21,000 global banking customers about their relationships with financial institutions and services. In this fourth section, I will be sitting down with Panos Archondakis, Global Head Banking and Wealth Management at Epam, where we will be discussing the evolution of the bank branch. Hello, Panos. How are you?
I'm very good. Hi, Liz.
This is one of my favorite topics, what's going on with bank branches. It gets a lot of attention on Twitter and social media. The reason why I say that is a lot has been written about the demise of the branch.
Yep.
And we see from our main streets and high streets, they are disappearing. But your recent survey kind of painted a more complicated picture. Can you tell us about that?
That's absolutely right. So there is a lot being written at the moment about the disappearance of the bank branch, and it's a fact. I think there are thousands of branches closing. This has happened over the last year, even during the pandemic, or especially during the pandemic, lockdowns and so on. And consumers are losing access to branches, particularly in more rural locations, and that's a problem for daily life in some cases. This is really a trend that the banks are driving, and obviously there are underlying factors of cost and efficiency and so on that are the causes here. The really interesting point, though, is that our research tells us that consumers want exactly the opposite. More than or nearly 80% of consumers in our survey had visited a branch in the last year. And I think around 35% of them have visited a branch at least monthly in the last year. So this is very much a trend in the opposite direction than what the banks are driving in closing down the branches. So I think that is very much a tension between the trend and what consumers are looking for.
Interesting. So despite your survey findings, transaction volumes at branches are down. So what are customers doing at these branches then? Well,
we did ask that question, and the data tells us that by far the highest or the most frequent use of a bank branch was still to withdraw money. So it is still a transactional focus, but close behind that, though, has been to obtain advice and insight. And what we're also seeing is that, considering the transactional theme, that paying in cash and checks are common activities as well. But quite far behind that are things like changing personal information and other sort of less frequent uses of branches. Now, this begs the question then, why are consumers going to branches and to do this when they could be doing it digitally? And I think that we need to understand more about which consumers are paying in cash and checks, and is it supporting small businesses and so on. So there is a variety of different reasons there. When we look at the behavior by age group as well, we see that the frequency of use is actually most common in younger age groups, which is almost entirely counterintuitive. And while the global average is around 35% of consumers who've visited a bank monthly in the last year, we see that rises to 40 to 41% even for 18 to 25-year-olds and 25 to 44-year-olds. So coupled with some of our other insights where we've asked customers what they would like to get from the banks, from their bank branches, it really leads us to conclude that by switching focus a little bit away from transactions, focusing more on insight, education and information, these might be themes that banks could leverage to maximize the use of branches and footfall through them.
So what does this mean for branches in the future then?
Well, I think that there's been a significant evolution in, or at least some baby steps, let's put it that way, in how banks evolve the uses of their branches, and we've started to see more communal type uses where bank branches are becoming shared spaces, co-working environments, coffee shops are opening up in them, and even kind of startup incubators. But this hasn't really taken off in a big way yet. Again, our research tells us that consumers really want information, advice, education, and the ability to interact with face-to-face with customer agents. So where that takes us is, to see a future where banks are starting to take digital experiences, integrate them into the physical banking environment more heavily, because while consumers may want to go into the bank branch, they're not there all the time and they might need to plan their trip or arrange certain things in advance. So having a very clear integration of digital and physical spaces is going to be very important in the future. Building in this education and advice concept, which we've really seen as a strong theme in this report, but at the same time not moving away from the fact that physical cash transactions still need to happen. Yeah. Businesses will need to deposit and withdraw money. Some types of consumers are getting paid in cash. So I think that the bank of the future is going to be, or the successful bank of the future is going to be the one that blends together these different types of activities, and particularly in trying to service the need for face-to-face interaction, finds a way to monetize or even charge for certain types of advice and interaction. And by doing that, we will hopefully see a future where bank branches continue to survive and play a vital role.
Excellent. Panos, thank you very much.
Thank you.